If you speak to your body the right way, it starts to heal itself. This isn't a metaphor. It's a real activation. And the proof is that right now, as you hear this sentence, trillions of cells are listening to you. They don't think. They don't judge. They just obey. And what you silently say to yourself becomes law inside your body. Thoth knew this. He called this process the living law. The word wasn't just sound. It was command. Every phrase you mentally repeat turns into a biochemical order. And the body, like a loyal servant, carries out everything perfectly, including the commands that make you sick. And that's why today, in this video, you're going to learn the secret language that reactivates your inner doctor. Yes, it exists. Not on another plane, not in a distant temple, but right there inside you, silent, obedient, waiting for you to say the right thing. And when you do, something extraordinary happens. Your heart slows down. Your hormones balance. Your pain dissolves, and healing begins effortlessly. But pay attention. This only works if you understand the code. Because speaking to the body requires precision. It's not about positive thinking. It's about a specific vibration, the right phrase at the right time with the right intention. And today, still in this video, you're going to learn that phrase. The simple can be said in seconds. But when spoken with awareness, it resets entire systems. It has already been used by thousands of people to ease pain, reverse symptoms, restore sleep, and most importantly, give control back to the place it should have never left, your own mind. Because when Thoth wrote that the mind is the sculptor and the body the obedient clay, he wasn't philosophizing. He was giving you a map. And now that you've made it this far, it's time to follow that map. The word that does not come from the heart does not command matter. The body is like a secret school where each cell silently attends the classes your mind teaches every day. And the most surprising thing is that it learns with absolute precision. Even when you don't realize you're teaching, with every word, every thought, every sensation you repeat, you are writing an invisible curriculum. And that curriculum turns into chemistry, function, health, or illness. Most people believe the body acts on its own, as if it were a machine that breaks down one day due to bad luck, genetics, or time. But Thoth warned us long ago, as above, so below. As in the mind, so in the body. This is not poetic metaphor. It's a law, a direct correspondence between what you hold internally and what the body expresses externally. Imagine that every organ in your body is in a classroom. The heart, the liver, the lungs, the skin, the muscles. All sitting in front of the blackboard of your mind, waiting for the next instruction. And every time you say with carelessness or despair something like, "My liver is killing me," "My head is going to explode," "This pain will never go away," the body doesn't question. It just takes notes and begins to act to follow that command. You might think that's an exaggeration, but the evidence is everywhere. People who developed ulcers after years of repressed anger. People who lost their voice after unresolved emotional trauma. Hearts that weakened after decades of saying things like, "This breaks my heart." It's not coincidence. It's language. Repeated language. Absorbed language. Now imagine the opposite. Someone who, before falling asleep, places their hands over their chest and gently whispers, "My heart is strong. It is at peace. It is healing everything with wisdom," and repeats that every day for weeks. What is that person teaching their body? They're offering a new lesson, opening a new chapter in the curriculum. And if they're consistent, the body begins to obey. It begins to learn because the body is the most dedicated student there is. It learns with discipline, with repetition, with emotion involved. And it doesn't resist when the instruction comes filled with faith, presence, and intention. This is the true alchemy that Thoth described, turning word into form, thought into matter, intention into physical structure. There's no exaggeration here. There is spiritual logic. There's a coherence that unites ancient traditions with the most modern mind-body discoveries. The word isn't just sound. It is vibration. And every vibration carries a message. When you say something with conviction, you shape the invisible substance that builds your body from within. That's why it's so dangerous to repeat phrases like, "I'm just an anxious person," "My immune system is weak," "This always goes wrong for me." Because the body doesn't understand that you're just venting. It understands that you're teaching. And like any good student, it does everything it can to please the teacher, even if that means creating symptoms to follow the lesson. But this also opens an amazing door. Because if the body learns from destructive repetition, it can also be re-educated through conscious repetition. And that begins with a new kind of speech. A speech that doesn't come from fear, but from the clear intention to restore. Try for a moment closing your eyes and visualizing your liver. Yes, your liver. See it working, filtering your blood, silently carrying out its functions. Now say mentally, with kindness and firmness, "Liver, I recognize your wisdom. You are healing everything in harmony. Thank you for your silent work. Feel the difference. Feel the energy of your own word being absorbed by an organ you've ignored until now. This isn't about magic. It's about recognition, about reconnection, about spiritual authority over what is yours. The body is not a machine that wears out. It is a living, changeable, teachable field. And you are the teacher it has always listened to, even when you are teaching unconsciously. You already understand the rule. But if even innocent phrases can make your body sick, how can specific phrases heal it? In the next section, we'll look at the case of Mr. Martinez and his nighttime protocol that rewrote the function of every vertebrae in his spine. Reprogramming the spine, the Martinez case. You already understand the rule, but if even innocent phrases can make your body sick, how can specific phrases heal it? This is where practice starts to reveal its real power. Martinez was a middle-aged mechanic. For years, he worked bent over, lifting heavy things, straining his spine non-stop, and without awareness, until one day his body stopped obeying. The pain started mild but became unbearable. The medical diagnosis was clear and final. Advanced herniated disc, nerve compression, possible surgery with uncertain chances. And with that came the sentence. Many hear and few question. You're going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. But Martinez, without even knowing it, had already planted a seed of vibrational resistance within himself. He refused to accept that his spine was doomed. And in that quiet impulse, he discovered the principle of conscious command. The body, he learned, was not the enemy. It was a student. And if it had been taught to stiffen, it could also be re-educated to loosen, to flex, to heal. It began with a nighttime routine, a simple yet sacred ritual. Every night, he would lie down in silence, place his open hands on his lower back, and say slowly, "Spine, learn to be flexible. You are support, but you are also flow. Thank you for relearning." The first week was hard. The pain still spoke louder, but he continued. He didn't shout. He didn't beg. He simply taught, like someone guiding a stubborn child with patience and firmness. And something began to change. He didn't expect a miracle, but the spine began to respond. The pain stopped being constant. The stiffness gave way to small movements. And as the nights passed, something that once seemed impossible began to unfold. The body's memory was being rewritten. It took 40 consecutive nights, 40 teaching windows where the word was not a plea but a code. With every repetition, the mind reinforced an internal image. Aligned vertebrae, decompressed nerves, relaxed muscles. And the body, like a focused student, began to absorb this new reality. Thoth once said, "Nothing is fixed except by the will that fixes it. What has been tightened can be loosened." These words aren't poetic. They're practical. Physical stiffness is only the reflection of a mind hardened by belief. And healing begins when that belief is dissolved by a clear vibrational command. Martinez didn't need surgery. His spine regained mobility, not like before, but better than expected. And not because he ignored the pain, but because he talked to it. He didn't treat the hernia as an enemy, but as a signal, a reminder that his body was only obeying old instructions sustained by years of rushing, fear, and neglect. By changing the tone of his inner conversation, he changed how his body reacted. By swapping complaints for conscious commands, he reactivated forgotten circuits. Music. And this transformation wasn't magic. It was conscious, repeated, intentional. It was the spiritual practice of vibrational reprogramming applied to a specific part of the body. Thoth would call this a return to flow. He said that form only becomes rigid when the mind is rigid, and that all form can return to flow if the instruction changes. That's what Martinez did. He didn't heal with words alone. He healed with the frequency behind the words, with the vibration that carries a firm, clear, and loving intention. Was it just this discipline? Wait until you see what happens when we apply the same principle to your vital glands. The glandular command, how words become biochemistry. Imagine for a moment that every cell in your body has invisible ears. That every gland, every strand of hair, every inch of skin is secretly tuned into what you say, what you feel, what you affirm internally without realizing. It might sound like an exaggeration, but it's not. It's pure vibration. And Thoth once said, "The word is a vibration that descends from the mind of the all to shape the lower worlds." And your body, as solid as it seems, is one of those worlds. What few people know is that your words don't just hang in the air. They become biochemistry. The tone in which you speak to yourself changes the brain's electricity, alters neural impulses, and triggers commands that directly affect your endocrine glands. Every time you say, "This gets on my nerves," the body obeys and responds with a cortisol spike. When you repeat, "I have no energy for anything," your adrenal glands lower your vitality, as if they were following orders. Because they are. And this isn't about positive thinking in the generic sense. It's about vibrational precision. The right phrase with the right rhythm in a coherent internal state changes not just your mood, but your biology. And this has been seen in real clinical cases. People with severe gastritis who switched from the internal pattern of, "I can't take this anymore," to "my stomach digests everything calmly and lightly," began to experience real relief. Not just a placebo, measurable cellular transformation. Another powerful example is high blood pressure. Many who suffered from unstable pressure learned to apply rhythmic commands directed at the heart. They spoke to it as if conducting an orchestra. "You beat with harmony. You pulse in the rhythm of peace." And they repeated this like a living instruction mantra. In weeks, with monitoring, the levels began to drop, and in some cases, doctors discontinued medications. Thoth stated, "Every intentional word carries a vibrational pattern that manifests in the body as form, function, and tangible reality." This means the body doesn't just react to what you feel, but to what you declare. It is the living mirror of your inner vocabulary. And the phenomenon many call placebo is nothing more than a mental command encoded in the form of faith. When a person believes a sugar pill is a powerful medicine, it's not the sugar that heals. It's the unconscious command that comes with it. It's the expectation, the certainty, the image that settles deep inside, that produces real substances, that moves hormones, that regulates invisible processes and accelerates internal repairs. So when you learn to speak to your body, not just with venting, but with intention, you access true Hermetic medicine. The kind that doesn't need a scalpel but clarity. The kind that doesn't invade, but instructs. Every word becomes an energetic prescription, and every phrase, a particle of healing. You may have never spoken to your thyroid, but it hears you every day. Maybe you've never thanked your adrenal glands for sustaining your vital energy, but they respond to every thought of exhaustion or gratitude. Your body is paying attention, is waiting for higher instructions, for commands that free it from the vibrational prison of automatic phrases. Now that you know how words act on glands and organs, imagine what your mind does while you sleep. The golden hour of the subconscious. There is a moment most people ignore, a nearly imperceptible transition point between your last waking thought and the start of deep sleep. This instant, as subtle as it is powerful, is an open doorway between two worlds. It's in this small gap that the body stops responding to the rush of the day and starts to listen to the language of the spirit. It's when the logical mind, which usually blocks the invisible, finally goes quiet, and the vibrational field fully opens. Thoth said, "The spirit plants in the dark what will bloom in the light." And what he called dark was not negative darkness, but the fertile state of active unconsciousness. When your eyes close and your mind slows down, Everything that was repeated with intention during the day starts to take root in the energetic structure of the body. It's as if sleep is a silent gardener, burying each word, each command, each image you've nurtured, and preparing the biological harvest that will come upon waking. What you say before sleep matters more than everything you said during the day. Because in that moment, you're no longer trying to convince the body. You're instructing the spirit. And the spirit doesn't question. It simply records and executes. That's why in this golden hour, you should choose a short, vibrational, clear, and positive phrase, and repeat it with a soft tone, almost as if you're soothing an inner child. A simple example: my body is now entering a state of deep healing. This phrase, when said with presence and surrender, acts like a password that opens the subtle channels of regeneration. But it's not enough to speak. You must feel that it's already happening. Visualize the cells obeying. Breathe as if your body is already being repaired. This combination of word, image, and feeling creates what the ancients called a vibrational seal, an energetic imprint that the subconscious recognizes as a direct order. You don't need complex rituals or long affirmations. You just need to repeat the right phrase in the right state for the right amount of time. And the right time, in this case, is the last 5 minutes before deep sleep. Repeat it like a chant. Let the phrase slowly dissolve as sleep carries you. Don't force it. Just surrender and the rest will happen. During the night, the body is not inactive. It's rebuilding. Glands recalibrate. Tissues regenerate. Emotional memories are processed in silence. And if you leave a clear instruction before this process begins, it becomes the invisible blueprint for healing. You wake up with more energy, with less pain, with emotional decisions already resolved internally, without conscious effort. This is the alchemy of sleep, a sacred space of transmutation where what was mental chaos starts to reorganize into somatic harmony. And it's not by accident. It's because you planted the right seeds. You will learn that just as sleep processes memories, it also locks in healing commands. But the next organ we're going to train responds even faster. Take a deep breath, because what you're about to access is not just another nice idea about emotions. It's a direct entry into the most powerful field in your entire body, the heart. The heart's hidden power. While the brain thinks, the heart vibrates. And this vibration, contrary to what many believe, is not symbolic. It's physical. It's electrical. It's real. The heart emits the largest electromagnetic field in the human body. It vibrates far beyond your skin, touching the environment, affecting others, influencing your own mind. It is literally the inner sun that Thoth referred to. And this sun pulses in harmony with the universe, when you know how to speak to it. But for the heart to listen, you need to quiet the internal wars. It doesn't respond to shouting. It responds to rhythm. There is a practice that has transformed lives. A heart reconnection exercise that doesn't require blind faith or advanced techniques. Just 5 minutes. 5 minutes a day. When you stop everything, close your eyes, and bring your awareness to the center of your chest. There, you begin a dialogue, but not with random words. With affirmations directed at the heart's vibration. For example, heart, I hear you. Heart, you are safe. Heart, beat in peace. These phrases, when spoken in a calm and steady rhythm, begin to create what modern scientists call cardiac coherence. But what Thoth already taught as tuning into the inner sun. When you enter this state of coherence, your heartbeat harmonizes, your blood pressure drops, and the mind aligns with the body. Everything begins to follow the same rhythm. The case of Mr. Elias, a 63-year-old man diagnosed with severe hypertension, shows this clearly. After years dependent on medication, he learned this simple technique. Every evening, before any external stimulus, he would sit in silence, place his hand over his chest, and begin his practice. Heart, you are free. You beat in peace. He repeated this for 5 minutes. For 2 weeks, nothing seemed different. But in the 3rd week, he reported, "It feels like my chest is breathing." And for the first time in years, his heartbeat stabilized without chemical help. The doctor didn't understand, but the body did. This alignment isn't a miracle. It's instruction. And as Thoth taught, the heart is the sun of the body. Speaking to it is aligning with universal vibration. When you tune into that sun, the darkness of anxiety begins to dissolve. When you give the heart a frequency of safety, it sends the brain a signal of peace, not the other way around. It's the heart that commands clarity, not the mind, as you were taught. The mind is noise. The heart is pulse. There's one more key detail: rhythm. Ideally, your words should be spoken in sync with your breath, like an inner metronome. Inhale. Speak. Exhale. Feel. This cadence creates a vibrational bridge between intention and the organ. It's not about repeating mechanically. It's about vibrating with presence in the right tempo. Emotional vibration is the fuel of cardiac transformation. While the heart obeys, you're about to discover the surprising role of the lungs, and how a simple breath command can transform anxiety into peace. Breathing with words, freeing anxiety. If the heart beats to the sound of your vibration, the lungs dance with your silence. Breath is the invisible thread that weaves together body, emotion, and spirit. And precisely because it's so subtle, most people don't realize how much it can heal. We're not talking about deeper breathing, but about turning each inhale into a vibrational command, each exhale into a conscious release. Thoth said, "The breath is the soul in motion, and when you breathe with intention, you shape physical reality with the frequency of your presence." This is the essence of the practice known as breathing words, a method that unites air and language in a single gesture. Powerful, simple, and transformative. Here's how it works. As you inhale, you mentally say a phrase that welcomes life. It can be, "Life flows into me," or "I receive peace." As you exhale, you speak an affirmation of release or safety, like, "I am safe," or "I let go of what holds me back." The secret lies in the rhythm. It's not about memorizing phrases, but about creating a continuous flow between what enters and what leaves. A conscious cycle where air, emotion, and instruction vibrate as one field. In documented accounts, patients experiencing severe anxiety attacks learned to use this technique during moments of peak tension. At first, the body resisted. Shoulders stayed tense. The mind tried to run away. But over time, and especially with repetition, the practice triggered an automatic calming response. The body relearned how to breathe, not out of fear but from presence. In cases of psychosomatic asthma, the same pattern appeared. A drastic reduction in episodes within just a few weeks, without chemical intervention. What changes is not just the air, but the information that air carries. Every time you breathe consciously, you send a message of non-threat to your nervous system, a command that shuts off the survival alarm and activates the healing circuit. Conscious breathing becomes a silent sanctuary where the body no longer needs to fight. It simply responds. And there's a hidden detail Thoth knew well. Air is not just oxygen. It's field. It's memory. It's bridge. That's why each breath is also a vibrational update of your identity. When you breathe with words, you communicate a new mission to your blood. And this brings us to the next layer. Because if air and emotion move together, the next step is to understand how mental information directs every drop of blood in your body. The blood's silent obedience. In part 8, you'll open the gates of your circulatory system, and you'll see what the right decree can do for the flow of life. Blood is not just a biological fluid. It is the soul's inner river, as Thoth called it, a moving mirror of your most intimate vibration. When thoughts stagnate, it becomes thick. When the mind is flowing, it runs like living music, nourishing every cell with fresh vitality. There are phrases that literally alter the way blood flows. Phrases that change its viscosity, its volume, its direction. A simple, "I move forward," repeated in a state of presence, begins to dissolve stagnation that built up over years in forgotten arteries. A woman who suffered from chronic fatigue, heavy legs, and a constant feeling of weight reported that after replacing the mental phrase, "I'm stuck," with "I flow, I move forward," her body started to respond. It wasn't immediate, but after days of practice during conscious walks, something shifted. Her legs felt lighter, the air more alive, the blood warmer. Now breathe. Feel your blood. Imagine it listening to you, because your blood obeys just as faithfully as your spine and your heart. But we're still missing the master key to reprogram every cell in your body. Cellular rejuvenation in 30 days. It starts with an inner whisper, almost imperceptible. A call that comes from the deepest part of your flesh. Your cells are asking for a new language because the body doesn't age from time. It ages from programming. And anything that is programmed can be reprogrammed. Here, you access the point where the mind touches the core of matter. The exact point where a phrase can be more powerful than a medicine. This is the vibrational rejuvenation protocol. 30 days. 3 commands per day. 1 in the morning to instruct regeneration. 1 in the afternoon to sustain the vibrational field. 1 before sleep to activate deep repair processes during rest. The phrase is simple but not generic. It must be spoken with intention, rhythm, and full presence. Like this, cells, I bless you. You are renewing. You know how to restore yourselves, and I trust you. This is the moment when the word becomes biology. The verbal instruction enters through the limbic system, moves down to the hypothalamus, echoes in the glands, alters hormones, reorganizes the internal code. One of the most extraordinary aspects reported by practitioners is the immediate improvement in sleep, skin tone, and the brightness in the eyes. Lab tests done after 4 weeks of uninterrupted practice showed increased biomarkers of longevity and reduced silent inflammation levels. But none of this is just biological. As Thoth said, the body is like the earth. If well cultivated, it never grows old. And the word is the rain that nourishes. Conscious speech is the vibrational fertilizer that feeds what is invisible. To renew the word is to renew the form. When you tell your skin that it's regenerating, you're not being poetic. You're activating an ancestral memory. The reminder that the body was made to last as long as consciousness desires. And here's a key point: repetition. Each time you affirm regeneration, you're not just reinforcing the conscious mind, you're slowly shaping the subconscious. And it's the one in charge. The deep mind doesn't understand logic, but it understands vibration. And when you repeat a decree with real emotion, it accepts it as truth. That's why it's not about saying more, but about saying it right. Now, imagine that each cell is like a sleeping server, waiting for a password to reactivate its full function. And that password is your voice, your choice, your blessed word. But even this amazing practice alone doesn't complete the full activation, because one supreme order is still missing. The one that governs all the others. The decree that doesn't act only on organs or systems, but on the totality of your being. The final command. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you recognizes the truth vibrating in this content. So, write in the comments with presence and intention. I command my body with awareness. This phrase is not just an interaction. It's a signal, a vibrational seal that activates the field and shows that you're ready to access your inner doctor.